What's going on YouTube? Smolder here, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a video ranking all of the bosses from the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. And this, of course, is going to be a completely biased ranking, purely all me and how I view them. However, I'm going to give my reasonings for all the bosses, and basically the criteria is S tier is it's great in everything. F tier is that it's bad in everything. And things that are going to I'm going to take into account are obviously difficulty, but difficulty that makes sense, right? If it's super hard, but it's also like unfair, bad hitboxes, that's going to lower it. Whereas if it's really difficult, but also fun and things that you can learn, those are going to be the type of difficulty that's going to raise it up. Is it important lore-wise? Is it visually cool? Is it just a cool fight? Things like that. Those are all going to be going into, how I rank them. And of course, it's all based on the build that I ran through with the DLC, which is a Dex Faith build. So, it's just going to be where I rank all the bosses myself. Now, let's see if I can remember all the bosses. That's going to be a thing. So, Ancient Dragon Man is the first one we're going to have coming up here. This is the guy he's just a humanoid boss that you fight before you gain access to the area of getting to Bale. He's average. I'm just going to give him a C. C is generally going to be just middle of the road, not great, not bad, it's just whatever. Ancient Dragon Senesax. For me, this is going to be a D. It's hard if I wanted to D or an E, really. I have always said that for the most part in Elden Ring, dragon fights are terrible, especially when there's not a lot of space. The more space there is for the dragon fight, the better they are. There's not a lot of space for this one, and he's basically like Fortisax from the base game, so yeah, it sucks. Bale the Dread, however, is going to be S tier. I think this is going to be pretty much the same for everyone doing tier list here. And here's why. I just talked about why I generally don't like dragon fights. Bale is an exception. I think it's the best dragon fight boss that FromSoft has ever made, because he's a little bit different than most dragons, especially in Elden Ring. Attack in the feet and the back legs is generally just, in the back is just almost always the go-to, right? You very rarely ever want to fight him up front, face to face, or anything like that, because the damage differences. There's a little bit, but it's not worth the risk. Bale, you kind of don't really have a choice. You kind of just have to fight him where you gotta fight him. But it's a massive arena, so you have a lot of space. The camera angling and the camera work is actually very good. Visually, it is the most impressive fight, in my opinion, in the entire DLC, in the entire game, even. Bale's pretty gnarly. I'm also gonna bump up my mic. Should be a little bit better. I know it. I'm kind of sick still. Yeah, and then if you also summon Egon, like the lore and implications with Egon and taking down Bale and everything like that. Curse you, Bale! Alright. Bale is dope. I don't think anything is going to top Bale for me. Black Knight Erdtree. It's just another C rank. It's another humanoid boss. This is basically just like a regular Black Knight with one unique ability. I believe he is the one who flies. Whatever. Not great, not bad. Black Knight Garu. He's the guy very early on where you get that mace. Whatever. Black Jail Knight. I'm going to put him a C, but I'm going to put him in the front. C. He's like the first like real check that a lot of people are going to run into in the DLC. First like boss. I'm usually partial to humanoid fights, and I thought it was fine. I thought it was a decent fight. Chief Bloodfiend. This guy's going to be a D. And the reason why he's a D for me is because this particular fight he's literally just like those mobs. Literally exactly the same, just a big version. Nothing special. Just kind of like how these guys are. Like the knights, but almost the same thing. Nothing special to me. Next up, we have Commander Dogshit. So we're going to put him on F. Nothing needs to be said. He's Garbo. Pure Garbo. But yeah, count him here. I want to put him as D as well. The reason why he's going to be lower than the other humanoids is because he's a joke boss. He's not like a real boss. He's a joke. So, like, if you die to this guy, you suck. It's pretty much that simple. But he's a humanoid, you know, it's whatever. Nothing terrible about him. Curse Blade. I actually don't remember if I fought this guy, so he's humanoid, so he's going to go C. Dancer of Rana, C. Most of the humanoid bosses like this are just going to get C's because it's pretty average. I will, however, put the Death Knights higher. I can't tell from the picture which one's which, but the double axe one was more fun because they have much better movesets, and there were a lot cooler fights, and they were a lot more punishing as well. Because like if they grabbed you, they not only did they do a massive amount of damage to you, they regained their life. Deathrite birds, those are E's because they're terrible. Demi-human queen, this is the guy where you get that weird katana. I'll put him D. Nothing really terrible. Demi-human Ons. This guy was kind of cool. I'll actually put him as like the highest C. Divine. Okay, so this is like one of the first aside from Bale. Divine Beast, Dancing Lion. I'm going to put him A for now. I'm still thinking of putting him as an S tier. Visually, I thought this fight was phenomenal. This is like the first real big story fight, boss fight that you have in the DLC. And I thought it was fantastic. However, the camera work is kind of bad. So that's kind of like why I don't want to give it an S tier. Falling Star Beast. These always suck, so you get an E. Furnace Golems, those are trash. So you go to F. Ghost Flame Dragon. Both of these are going to be D's, but they're not as bad. I'll put them up here. Golden Hippo, you're trash, but you're not as trash as Gaius. Jagged Peak Drake. I'll put you like right here. Lamenter, you're another C. Mesmer the Impaler is an easy S tier fight. Oops. How did that move the screen? I have no idea. Oh, I see. But yeah. Mesmer, I think, if it wasn't for Bale, Mesmer, I think, would be the coolest fight in the DLC. Humanoid, he's insanely difficult, insanely punishing, but it's fair, in my opinion. I do think it's quite fair. He does have openings. He has movesets that you can learn, you can master, and it's just sick, dude. And on top of that, you have 2 NPC summons you can summon that are both really cool for the fight. The Horn Scent one is better in terms of lore. But yeah. Mateer Mother Fingers. I'm not a huge fan of this fight. I'm actually going to give Mateer C, but at the bottom. And the reason why is because it reminded me of a Brightus from Bloodborne. But yeah, just camera work. Even though it's a massive arena, the camera work is really bad, I feel like. And I don't know, but I didn't want to make it lower than C because it has something that I think is actually really cool that a lot of big monsters don't have. And that is, it punishes you for trying to go to its weak side. Which is cool. Alright, next up we have Midra. I am not as big of a fan of this fight as I think a lot of other people are. I'm going to give Midra a low B. The reason why is this. Okay, it's a humanoid fight. But once I learned the fight, and it actually took me quite a few tries, I thought it was very simple and basic. Visually is kind of cool, right? You know, his head turns into the big frenzied eye and everything. But I thought the fight was actually pretty basic. But it's still a B because the fight itself was fun. It was really fun. It was fun to learn, fun to master, and everything like that. So, Putrescent Knight. I don't know. I one-shot this guy, so I'll put him as a high D. Radon, Consort of Mikola. So this is the final boss of the game. I'm going to put him as a low C. If it wasn't for Phase 2, I think this would actually be a much higher fight. I would rank it much higher. But Phase 2 is bullshit, dude. It's actual bullshit. The amount of light and flashing things on the screen makes it so difficult to even see what's happening on the screen. And on top of that, it's literally just a buffed up version of Phase 1. He's got almost the identical moveset, just now all of his moves leave behind pillars of light that do damage with like an after effect. And he has some like weird dashing moves where he like dashes like 4 times and things like that. But obviously he has a big nuke too. But otherwise he's basically just a souped up version of Phase 1. And it's much more difficult to see. Because Phase 1, I love Phase 1. I actually think Phase 1 is fantastic. The 2 bears, I'm going to go ahead and do them right now. I cheesed both of them, so I'm just going to put them both in D. Red bear, he's another humanoid. I'll put him like right here. Renala is another S tier fight. They can be almost interchangeable. Renala, Rolana and Mesmer, because I really, really like the fight. She's extremely aggressive. She's punishing, but she does have openings. And I love fights that utilize the jump mechanic. And I know that sounds really stupid, but until Elden... Well, actually, that's not true. Sekiro had a jump button. But Sekiro is not really like their other games. You've never had a jump button, like an actual designated jump button in Dark Souls or Bloodborne or anything like that, right? It was always like run and jump, like a leap. So when you have mechanics that you are to jump and dodge and things like that, I think that adds a lot of... I know this is going to sound weird, but I want to say verticality to the fight. And it allows you to think about it in more ways than you normally are kind of stuck into thinking about the fights and how to do fights. Ramina, Sing to the Bud. I got this person on my second try. I thought she was actually very underwhelming. I'll put her at a high D. Scatter Tree Avatar. I personally hated this fight. The reason why I didn't like it is because, and I've mentioned this before, I'm not a huge fan of big monster fights because of the camera. And granted, you can fight in the big open area, but there's times where, he has a big charge attack, and it usually does it 3 times, like charge, then charge, then charge. And sometimes you might get stuck against the wall, and then it just becomes an absolute nightmare. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy the fight. It wasn't difficult, but I didn't enjoy it. Tree Sentinels, why are these here? Rakshasa, another humanoid fight. Jory, I did not like this fight either. Okay, so this is going to be my ranking. Hopefully you guys can see this. I don't know how people make these screens bigger, dude. This is the biggest I was able to make it. I have no idea how to make it bigger. I'm looking at other content creators that do these tier lists, and the screen's massive. I'm like, how what? I don't understand. Anyways, that's basically it for me, guys. Bale the Dread is the coolest fight. Bale, Mesmer, and Rolana are the 2 coolest fights in the DLC, by far. And the Divine Beast, Dancing Lion, is also super, super cool. The only thing that was keeping me back from putting it as an S tier is the camera can get really wonky. And the reason why these guys are in the bottom, I'm going to put the Furnace Golem actually higher. So the Golden Hippo and Commander Gaius, hitboxes, man. Hitboxes are absolute trash on these fights. And that's pretty much it, honestly. Because Commander Gaius, I think, has a pretty cool moveset. But with his aggression and with the hitboxes on this fight being absolute trash, I just had no fun with this fight at all. And the Golden Hippo, same thing. Furnace Golem, to me, these aren't bosses. I don't know why these are on here. I had no fun with these. I thought these were like the worst mobs in the game. These guys and the dudes from the like the smithing dungeons. Those big golem, those other golem dudes with the, we're supposed to hit him in the ass. Worst regular mobs in the game. And yeah, most of the guys on the E are basically fights that I didn't enjoy, but I didn't think were on the same level as bad as these guys. Same thing with D. D rank was either A. They were okay, but I noticed flaws with the fights more than positives. C's was just my average. These guys, they're all right. They have some pluses. They have some negatives. Like I said, like Radon is a really great example as to like one that really matters. Because most of these guys I just put in the middle because they're just like regular mobs. But we're done. Phase 1 was fantastic. Phase 2 was absolute dog shit. So just kind of like meet kind of in the middle. And then Meter, whatever. I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it. But yeah, these guys are pretty cool. Midra is like almost an A. But yeah, I'm going to put Midra above the Death Knights. Because he is really cool. But I just felt the fight was very basic. For like a big boss, you know. I thought it was pretty basic. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. That's my tier list for the Elden Ring DLC bosses. You know, again, it's all purely subjective. It's just my opinion. But, alright. Peace.